Hi, how do you find hope in the midst of despair? Today is a sad day because Cormac McCarthy passed away July 13th, 2023. One of his favorite books is the book called The Road. One of the things that stood out to me the most is the question of how do you find hope in the midst of despair? So the book is set up in a post-apocalyptic world where a father and son find themselves walking through the wilderness to get to a place that is safe. And in the process of going through it, they encounter cannibals and robbers. The father and son walk across in the wilderness to find a space where the father wants the son to be safe. The father also has a terminal illness which he knows will kill him. And the process of being on the road is the process of the father trying to take his son to a place where he will be safe. So we look at the story from the point of view of the father and also the point of view of the son. As the son sees his father engage with this kind of a world where there is no hope. A theme that the father keeps coming to the son over and over again in order to give the son hope to keep pushing forward is the idea that the father and the son are carrying a sacred fire with them. And in fact, the night before the father dies, when he knows that he's going to die, he tells his son, hey, no matter what happens, you need to keep going forward. And the reason is you have the fire in you, and you need to protect that. You have to carry the fire. I'm reading on page 298 where he says, you have to carry the fire. And the son asks, where is this fire? Where is this fire that I am carrying? If that's the hope into which I need to live into, where is that? And he says, it is inside you. It was always there. I can see it. What is this fire that the father can see in the son that keeps the son and the father moving forward to a place of hope in the midst of despair? And this fire is the son's ability for empathy. Even as the father and the son encounter so many different cruel people who are cannibalizing their own fellow human beings, there are times when the father and the son encounter people in need. The son always helps them. In spite of them knowing that they don't have enough food to eat, the son is always providing unconditional care to the people around him. And the father sees that impulse for love, for empathy, for caring for other people as the fire that is worth keeping alive, even if it means he'll give his life for it. His mom could not see that, and that's why she said, I'm done with this world, I'm escaping. But the father says, no, this fire is worth keeping, and he keeps moving forward. And at the end, the father dies, and the son is taken in by another family, and the novel ends with a passage of the new family that has taken in this child, or the son, reflecting on this journey. And she said, and this is what he says about her. She said that the breath of God was his breath, yet through it passed from man to man through all of time. So what is she telling you? She's telling you that the breath of God was a breath that was passing through the Father to the Son, and that through that to all of time. What does she mean by that? There was a philosopher called Stephen Frey, and he says that Cormac McCarthy's philosophy was informed both by Neoplatonic philosophy and also by Christian existentialist thinkers. So on the Neoplatonic philosophy side, Cormac McCarthy thinks of every interaction in the human world as a reflection of a transcendent truth. In fact, Stephen Fry says, human interaction is often informed by imitations of the transcendent. So this sense of seeing everything that happens here as not just a material thing, but the ability to see that there is a transcendent, a spiritual reality behind it that informs the material reality that we see, and that the material reality that we see gives a glimpse into the deeper spiritual world is an important part of Cormac McCarthy's worldview. That sense of seeing a transcendent reality, seeing something beyond what is just there materially. And it is that ability to see into the transcendent, to see that there is a fire that is worth keeping, there is a hope that is worth keeping alive is what helps the father and the son to keep pushing through this space to find hope in the midst of despair. The psychiatrist and philosopher Viktor Frankl talks about this in this way. He says, this is a way in which we make experiential meaning. And what he means by that is it's a space in which we are not trying to create something or do something to create meaning. Rather, we are allowing the other person who is there and receive affection from them as a way of finding meaning in life. And he says that way of finding experiential meaning often is what helps us to push through the pain and push through the suffering. And for Viktor Frankl, when he was in the concentration camp, the memory that helped him to find hope to keep pushing through the pain and suffering and the despair there was the memory of his loving wife. And that's where that was the fire that kept him going. And that is a space of finding this transcendent hope to push through the pain. And Cormac McCarthy teases the same point in this long form of story where the father and son are keeping the fire alive by having this deeply loving relationship for each other. So that is something that we see in Cormac McCarthy here, of finding hope in the transcendent world, that everything that we see here is a part of God's breath that keeps us alive no matter what we are going through. And that sense of transcendent hope gives him the ability to keep pushing through the despair, to keep pushing through the pain and suffering. The Cormac McCarthy in one of his interviews said that he got the idea for this novel while he was staying with his son in a motel in New Mexico. And he looked out of the window into this desert, into this sparse wilderness. And he wondered, what if there were to be a nuclear war that goes on and we destroy the whole of humanity, the whole of the environment, and he and his son have to walk out of the motel and make their way to the west coast or the east coast to find a space where they can be safe. So it was that question of what if we destroy our own habitat? How can I find hope in that space is an important question. And even as we go through difficulties with our environmental struggle and our ecological threats that we face, the question that Cormac McCarthy brings to us is the question of how to find hope in the midst of that. And the answer to that is to find hope in our ability to love each other unconditionally as something that is a gift that God has given us in and through this. So that's something that I've been reflecting on today as I've been thinking about Cormac McCarthy's passing away. A great figure of literature in the American world was contributed to literature in so many different ways, has passed away. So just as a homage to him, I wanted to talk about this book. Anyways, until I see you in another video, bye now. If you like this video, please feel free to like,